Arise Plays Movie Box is partnering with IndieView Festival Lagos, the home of the most exceptional short films curated from across Africa and the diaspora. Every month, 3 winning movies of the IndieView Festival competition will feature on the Arise Play streaming platform and benefit from the full movie box package and more. Do you think your short film can compete and win at the IndieView Festival? Then follow @IndieView Lagos on Instagram for more information on how to submit your entry. Jumpstart your movie career today and get on the path to fame with the exclusive IndieView and MovieBox partnership. Arise Play. Beyond streaming.
Every moment matters. Every decision. Every moment of courage. Every act of kindness. Every declaration of war is made by someone, somewhere. Arise Newsnight analyzes the decisions that affect all of our lives.
A very warm welcome to you. This is Newsnight. Every night, we bring you the moments that matter, from the top to the bottom, and in every corner of our country. We bring you a focused agenda from Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. Focus on what's important with Arise Newsnight.
This is the heart of the business world in Lagos, the commercial capital of Africa's largest economy.
These aren't just numbers. They represent our nation's sharpest minds, our most successful investors, our most inspiring bosses. In Nigeria, business is in our DNA. From micro-business to startups to world-conquering brands. Every success story has something in common. They all started somewhere. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Global Business Report gets to the heart of business. We bring you the stories making headlines across the globe with in-depth analysis from experts and executives.
This is not business as usual. This is the Global Business Report.
Welcome to this week, 60 minutes of analytical review of the big stories, topical issues, and all the controversies around the world. I'm Somna Sambu. And now to the headlines. State pardon for former governors Joshua Dariye, Dariye and Nyame, and others by the National Council of State puts President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption campaign under fresh attack by lawyers, civil society groups, and other Nigerians who say clemency is not in the interest of the nation, while also asking for all prisoners to be freed irrespective of class or crime. Now, the recent attack in Plateau and Benue states, coupled with over 100 abducted in the Abuja-Kaduna train, has left the House of Representatives with no other option than to call for the sack of the National Security Advisor and the Minister of Defense. PDP presidential aspirant and former president of the Senate, Anyim Pius Anyim, has warned the main opposition party against jettisoning its zoning principle, or else it will become a weakened institution that will not be able to protect its members. And devastating floods hit South Africa's eastern coastal province, leaving at least 341 people dead, according to the government, with rescuers continuing the search for missing people as President Muhammadu Buhari sympathizes with South Africans. Welcome to the show once again. The clemency granted two former governors by the National Council of State may go down in history as one of the most controversial state pardons in Nigeria's recent history. Former governor of Taraba State, Dariye and Nyame, and former governor of Plateau State, Joshua Dariye, are among 159 prisoners pardoned by the council at a meeting presided by President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. Now, Dariye and Nyame were jailed for stealing 1.16 billion naira and 1.6 billion naira, and the sudden amnesty granted them is seen not as only unjustifiable, but one that is capable of dampening the morale of the anti-corruption agencies, that is the EFCC and ICPC, in pursuing corrupt persons in the future. Now, senior lawyers like Femi Falana has condemned the pardon, calling on government to free all petty thieves in cells across the country. Among other beneficiaries that have been pardoned include former military generals, including a former minister under the Sani Abacha regime, Tajuddin Olanrewaju, and Army Lieutenant Colonel Akiode, who was an aide of former Chief of General Staff General Oladipo Dia, and all the junior officers jailed over the 1999 abortive Gideon Oka coup.
I say I'm going to fight corruption today. Now, the only two governors that have been jailed, you now say you want to pay after stealing billions of naira. And somebody asked me this morning, Mr. Falana, what is your reaction? I have no reaction. So what do you mean? My reaction is that all criminals, all thieves, all petty thieves in our prison should be released. All.
An angry Femi Falana there, who is the senior advocate of Nigeria and understands the law. Well, joining us to look at this issue is the senior advocate of Nigeria, Abdul Mohammed, and from our Lagos studio we are being joined by lawyer and rights activist Liberos Oshoma. And I start with you, senior advocate of Nigeria, Abdul Mohammed. You can see your colleague there, Femi Falana, very angry, expressing outrage, I mean, just like a lot of Nigerians have done on this issue. It's the prerogative of the president and the Council of State to actually do this. But what's your view since this action by the Council of State?
Well, I think it's quite unfortunate that they were just convicted and they've not served up to very short terms in prison. The judicial system, the whole trial took, I think it started sometime in 2011. There were trials, it went on to the Supreme Court for pre-trials. Then when there was the amendment of the 2015 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, then the trial was concluded. Just immediately after their conviction, less than serving 2 years in prison, they have now been released. Now, assuming the offenses they committed were not offenses pertaining to graft, that would not have been so much of a problem. But graft is the most fundamental challenge to Africa's development, particularly Nigeria. And then we now have the people who were tried for it, who have taken advantage of the judicial system to elongate their trial since 2012 till when they were convicted, and then only for them to be pardoned in less than 2 years of serving the term. And it's not that they stole small amount of money, 1,100,600,000 for the governor of Taraba, and then 1,600,000,000 for the governor of Plateau. So if you, for the former governors of Plateau and Taraba, if you have persons who are former governors having this kind of treatment, so they've gone through the judicial system, they couldn't scale through the judicial system, now the government, the executive arm that is claiming that it is fighting corruption now say, oh, we pardon you. It makes a whole mess of the entire thing. It dampens the morale of the investigators. So you cannot say you are really fighting corruption if in the course of fighting corruption, your executive agency is able to prove that former governors stole money. Before a judicial system, you are accusing of supporting corruption, and after they've been convicted by that judicial system, you turn around and offer them clemency. I think the president did not act properly. It's not in the interest of the state for these persons to be convicted. It's quite unfortunate.
All right, let's bring you in, Liberal Soshoma, to talk about this. I mean, what's been your reaction to this? And then what message do you think that the National Council of State, which comprise former presidents, former military heads of state and all of that, are trying to send? What are this set of people trying to send to Nigerians by granting this clemency?
Yeah, thank you, Somnia. Quite sad. I have never been this sad. The way I felt when I heard the news was the way I felt when Ken Saruwiwa and about 13 other Ogonis were convicted by the Abacha regime and subsequently hanged. The same way I felt, I feel with this act that we have murdered the judiciary completely. We have murdered the fight against corruption. If I were the EFCC chairman in Nigeria today, I would send him my resignation. If I were the Chief Justice of the Federation today, I would send him my resignation, because the message that the President and the Council of States is passing is, look, you all can do whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, we determine what should be. And like my Leonard Sikh had said in the studio, these are people who were convicted, even by the Supreme Court, for grafts, and they are still serving their sentence. You see, the issue here is, it's laughable when you take a look at these issues, and then, like, I completely agree with Femi Falana, SAN, when he said this is discriminatory. So if you pardon these people because they are members of the political class, former governors, so what are you telling the petty thieves, the other criminals? What you're basically doing is you are encouraging criminality. You're telling those that have the capacity to commit, to go back and commit, still big, so that, and join political parties, so that when you are convicted, all you need to do is to reach out to your president and then the Council of State, and then you'll be asked to go and sin no more. And then, mind you, you keep your loot, what you have stolen. What you are also, this fight against anti-corruption, for those people that ordinarily believed before, despite the argument to the contrary, that this government is fighting corruption, the government had by itself, by this singular act, nailed the coffin on the fight against corruption. That's why I said, if I were the EFCC chairman today, I would just tell myself, you know what, there's basically no need. And what the message that the government is also sending is that there is no hope for the future. Because if every day you hear the same government, President Buhari, upon assumption of office, was quoted to have said, if we do not kill corruption, corruption will kill us. And then people that are convicted for corruption, the best you can do while election is approaching is to grant them pardon and ask them to go and say no more.
Liberals, sorry to cut in here. If these two governors, two former governors, and these other persons serving their jail terms had concluded their terms before the clemency was granted them, would it have made more sense? Is it that you are angry that this set of people were still serving out these terms before the Council of State went ahead to grant them this pardon?
Some persons would have accepted that, okay, yes, they have served their term, so it is convenient. But for me, it wouldn't have made any difference, because remember, this same set of people who are in government today, you remember in before 2015, was it 2018, when Alamesia, the former governor of Bayelsa State, was granted pardon by the PDP-led administration of Goodluck Jonathan. Lai Mohammed and co. shouted foul and that this wasn't good for the fight against corruption. The APC government also used it to campaign. Mind you, Alamesia had served his jail term. So even though he was on plea bargain. So now we have even taken the ball further down. We have ridiculed the system further down. But even the people, they were just convicted 2 years ago. And so here we are. They have not even served a quarter of the term. Now the government of the day has suddenly asked them to go and sin no more. What you're telling the rest of us who are hardworking Nigerians is that there is no hope for you. Just go commit crime, steal as much as you can, and then just join a political party. Once you're a member of the political class or the political elite, then the next thing, you can do whatever you like and then the government will pardon you. You know, you have clemency. So what's the danger here is, that's why a lot of people, anytime members of the terrorist organization and bandits are arrested, Nigerians are cynical. They will tell you, well, what do you expect? Very soon our government will grant them pardon and say, well, they are repentant Boko Haram members. And with this, further, the government had further down the line, you know, raised itself on the stake of the people that never believed that this government was either fighting terrorism
okay, yeah,
or corruption.
I'll just ask you to hold on here. And senior advocate of Nigeria, Mohammed, let's take a look at the anti-corruption war by President Muhammadu Buhari. How he has used this even before getting into power. Since Buhari joined politics in 2003, the cardinal reason why a lot of Nigerians wanted him to be president is for him to, you know, fight corruption. What sort of polity do we hope to inherit after Buhari must have ended his tenure? Is this a sort of fear, you know, in Buhari's government that if he doesn't do this kind of thing, that it may affect people in his own cabinet or even himself? What is responsible for the sudden change in the Buhari we knew in 2003, 2007, 2011 before he is becoming president in 2015?
It's really a 180 degrees shift, because I recall vividly when Alai Maseha was pardoned, the then campaign train took it like, oh, they are granting corrupt people freedom. And you know, this clemency, the import of it is that whereas the Constitution prevents persons who have been convicted for criminal activities from participating in elections for public offices, what the clemency does is that it sweeps the entire conviction away.
So that means they can now contest for election.
Come back and contest for election.
Wow.
So you see, and what the Constitution envisaged was that the conviction should last for, after the conviction, you should not vie for public office for a period of 10 years, believing that within that period you'll be watched by the society and will be able to observe whether you have been cured of this disease of wanting to take into public till. What the government just did now was to say, oh, Dariye, we don't need to wait for your 10 years. Alai Maseha, Joshua Dariye and Jolly Nyame, we don't need to wait for your 10 years. Go back and enjoy public office. You recall that Dariye was a senator when he was convicted. So you could imagine that these same people, who the government, I'm sure, would have condemned if it were the previous government or its PDP that did this, are now the same people that the government is doing this. And what is even worse is that the government seemed to make it. You see, those former military men that were pardoned, you could understand that, oh, clemency was given to them because those are military era political offenses. And giving clemency to those people is very understandable. But giving clemency for people who commit graft by a government canvassing that it is fighting corruption is a shame. If you take what Obasanjo did, when he came and he said, oh, we recognize that corruption is a big problem, but we have to fight it. He legislated for the creation of the ICPC. He pushed for the legislation of the creation of ICPC. He pushed for the legislation of for the creation of the EFCC. And he made sure that they were fighting corruption. If you recall, serious senior members of the public were subjected to corrupt investigation, and some of them were even tried. That was when a serving Inspector General of Police was arrested and tried for committing corrupt offenses. You can imagine, but in this era, all you see is that people who are in the PDP, for instance, when they realize that they are subjected to investigation, they will come and decamp to APC, and then if charges have been filed in court, the charges will be dropped. So what does it tell you? It tells you that this government is only mounting a fight against corruption, but it's not actually fighting corruption.
All right. Liberals, I come to you. I mean, Mohammed has raised a very critical point here. This government cannot say it's fighting corruption without institutionalizing some of the critical things that are needed to fight corruption. We have heard him saying that former President Olusegun Obasanjo created ICPC, he also created EFCC and all of that. But we have seen this government even finding it difficult to pass the Proceeds of Crime Bill, which is a very, very important piece of legislation, although Buhari has sent it back to the parliament, and all of that. Do you think that this government has scored an own goal, if you may put it that way, as it tries to transit by next year?
Yeah, I think this is worse than an own goal, because when for Obasanjo he created the ICPC, pushed for legislation for the creation of ICPC and EFCC, one would have expected that what this government, and when this government came, two things the president complained about. He complained bitterly about the judiciary being his headache in the fight against corruption. And so in this case now, the judiciary had successfully convicted two former governors. And one would have expected that the government and the president would be happy and then create a legislature to strengthen the judiciary, to ensure the quick dispensation of justice, and then also put structures in place to ensure that the instrumentalities of the dispensation of justice as enshrined in the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 are in place, so that investigations which actually commences prosecution would be thoroughly done. So at the end of the day, when the suspect is confronted with the proof of evidence, they will have no other option but to own up. That will also speed up the time for trials. But here, no. Those that have, despite the time it took, my learned sick there said this matter started 2011. No, actually, this case started in 2007, the moment these governors were out of office. But here, those that have been convicted, successfully convicted by the same judiciary that is the president's headache, then the next thing that the president and the Council of State could do is to give them clemency. What the government had done successfully, without putting structures in place to fight corruption, but you shout and mouth corruption every day, is to destroy that very fabric that other government had put in place to ensure that corruption, is fought. That's basically what I see playing out here.
Very interesting.
What you're telling others, like we all know, if you quickly, I'll round up here, like Senator Shehu Sani once said, once it is your position, they use insecticide, but once it is the government at the center, they deodorize it. That's basically what is playing out. What happened to Akpabio? Akpabio was under investigation while he was in PDP. The next thing, he visited the president in London, and then he decamped. He was made a minister. So what are you telling? These are people you have clearly called corrupt. The current chairman of APC was facing charges under EFCC, and at the end of the day, today, he's the chairman of the same party that had accused him of corruption. This same Jolly Nyame and Joshua Dariye, when they were convicted, the supporters of the president went to town to say that the president had shown by this action that there are no sacred cows. If you like, decamp to his party, that you will be prosecuted and shown the way to prison.
You have raised a very fundamental point, because I don't know what those supporters of the president will be saying now. All right, I come to you, Mohammed, now. Let's talk about the judiciary. Sorry, Liberals, let me bring Mohammed in. Let's talk about the judiciary now. How perplexed do you think judges who handle this case, including prosecutors at the EFCC? I mean, I heard that one of the prosecutors was actually caught by a machete from one of the supporters of one of these convicted former governors during the trial period. Nigeria spent millions, as in hundreds of millions, to get investigators from the UK and Nigeria before they could reach a conclusion on this. What do you think will be happening to these people, these Nigerians who were trying to be patriotic in dispensing their duties?
Well, this is your perfect example of a morale dampening dose to the people fighting corruption. Because first, you know, when the investigators in EFCC and investigating this big man in court, you know, they will be scared that, oh, they will want to do their work without any fear that nothing, they were fighting for their country. And then now, when the president came on board, everybody was, oh, this is a Buhari that was convicting people to 110 years, 99 years.
Yeah,
for,
during his military
yes, for
government.
having 1 million naira in your account. That was, you know. And then you are now having them fighting and say, oh, thank God, ACJA has been enacted. Under this new administration, we're going to see that we take conviction to conclusion. And then judges that have been accused will say, okay, let's review the law very well and ensure that we convict people if there is proof. And then now evidence was led. The judges were convinced. The appellate process was followed through. Court justices of the Court of Appeal affirmed the decision of the trial court. Justices of the Supreme Court affirmed the concurrent findings of both the trial court and the Court of Appeal. And then, whilst they are still trying, nobody has forgotten these convictions. It's still very fresh in our memory. Then we hear, oh, the same president that is fighting corruption has chaired a meeting of Council of State, and he has approved that they be given clemency. It's not that they be allowed to go out of prison and then, you know, maybe do some other form of service or something. Clemency, so that they are as if they've never sinned at all.
As if they never committed the offense at all.
It's terrible.
This is a very, very serious development for the country, and it says so much as to how the APC-led federal government is fighting corruption. We'll just ask you to stay with us very quickly when we go on this short break. We'll come back and then discuss the calls for the sack of the NSA and the Minister of Defense just before we let you go. Stay with us.
When we wanted to move faster and see more of the world, we found a way. We also found ways to connect beyond boundaries. And when an unprecedented pandemic tried to derail us, we found ways to get ahead.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Ready.
Ready. Ready.
As your bank, we have stayed proactive, creating dynamic solutions and leveraging cutting-edge technology to drive global expansion into new markets. We rolled up our sleeves to be human together, doing more, innovating smarter, and always showing up for you. So come on board, let's give you more.
Access, more than banking.
There's no other animal as courageous and majestic as the lion. But with only 50 lions left in Nigeria, they may soon just be a memory. When snares are used for bushmeat, we rob the lions of their food and risk maiming them for life. So please say no to illegal bushmeat and help protect the lions. Keep them wild and keep us safe.
Welcome back to the show. You're still watching This Week, which is a review of the top stories that happened during the week, and I'm Somna Sambo. Now, the recent attack in Plateau and Benue states, coupled with over 100 persons abducted in the Abuja to Kaduna train, has left the House of Representatives with no other option than to call for the sack of the National Security Advisor and the Minister of Defense. Now, the Parliament in the last 2 years has been meeting with security agencies to find a lasting solution to the problems of attacks, kidnappings, banditry, and insurgency. The lawmakers also at various times approved more budgetary allocations for the army, police, and other security agencies to purchase equipment, increase their salaries, and boost their morale. But the situation gets rather worse by the day. Now, families of the abducted 167 train passengers still in captivity have been holding protests and urging the government to open negotiations with the terrorists. In the midst of this, there have been endless killings in Plateau, abductions in Zamfara, kidnappings in Niger, and many more. Can the proposal to sack the NSA and Minister of Defense breathe a new life into the security architecture of the country if carried out?
I believe the president of the country is responsible for every actions or inactions that happened in the land. Why? Because he took an oath that he is going to perform his responsibilities and duties without fear or favor. I respect him. I believe in him. I believe he is all and age enough to give this country the direction and the leadership required. But why I blame the president is, why will you believe in having monopoly of knowledge? Why will you continuously maintain one national security advisor over all these years of your government?
Well, Liberals Soshoma is still in the studio to help us understand this from our Lagos studio, and I still have Abdul Mohammed, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria right here in Abuja with me. And Liberals, just very quickly, I mean, we'll talk about this because we've been talking about security several times. What do you make of this call for the sack of the NSA and then the Minister of Defense, while leaving the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria still on seat himself, when he's the one who appoints all of these persons and is supposed to sack them whenever he feels like?
Yeah, Somnia, I think the House of Rep is lily-livered. In spite of all of this insecurity, you're still believing in the capacity of Mr. President. I would rather call for the sack of Mr. President, the resignation of Mr. President, just like the Northern elders have done, rather than call for the sack of a National Security Advisor and the Minister for Defense. We've seen the same way we call for the sack of the former service chiefs and the Minister for Defense, and at the end of the day, it was still the same. Nothing happened. What it means is that the president is the one that is not taking advice. So all of this call for, you leave the head, the man who the buck stop at his table, and then you begin to chase shadows. For me, I think it's they're lily-livered. Let's quickly run by these issues. Even the bombing of the train, the Abuja-Kaduna train. From what we gathered in the news, the Minister for Transportation requested for 3.7 billion for surveillance on the track. And at the Federal Executive Council, the request was queried for further explanation. From what we gathered, and at the end of the day, the minister was quoted to have said that they got information that this was going to happen, but the weather didn't allow them to take any step. And then subsequently, it was bombed, and then hostages were taken. And now the president subsequently issued directives that sum, should all the modalities that will enable them release the sum, should be released. And then we're talking about the Minister for Defense. What has shown in Nigeria from the top to the bottom is a total collapse under President Muhammadu Buhari. So this is a general who is running away from bandits, who is running away from terrorists. Why they were campaigning in 2015, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu told us that when American had problem, they had to call on the retired general. When the British government had problem, they had to call on a retired general. And so now that we have a security problem, let us call on a retired general. But unfortunately today, our retired general is running away from bandits. So you're still chasing shadows around here.
Sorry, we're losing time here.
I do not know
Laborers, unfortunately, I just have to cut you in because we're actually losing time here, and I have to bring in Mohammed. I can see you, just nodding and looking at it. Honestly, the issues of insecurity is something that the government says it is working hard on, and we've seen some results, and we haven't seen some results in some aspects. What do you make of all of this call for the NSA to either resign or be sacked, or the Minister of Defense and all of that?
Well, you see, what we have seen in advanced crime is that where there is a failure in areas in which persons in public office are responsible, they resign by themselves. But we don't have that culture in Nigeria. Now, if we don't have that culture in Nigeria, the president, who is the appointee of these people, who appointed these people, is the one who would find a way to solve the problem, because it is him that promised us that he's going to provide security for us. Because you recall, we had insecurity when he came, and security was part of the things he promised us. Now, you cannot be using the same formula to solve a problem that is recurring. It's called madness, isn't it? You have to find another way to solve it. So I think I will not say, that the president is being called upon to fire these people, that is the right thing to do. I'll say the president himself is the one responsible, because the buck stopped at his desk, and his failure to take active and positive steps that would lead to effective result is our problem. So whether he needs to change people, or he needs to change tactics, or himself, he needs to change himself, or he needs to resign.
No one does that in Nigerian politics or African politics, but we must thank you so much, Abdul Mohammed, who is the senior advocate of Nigeria, giving us very important insight into the fight against corruption in Nigeria, and then, of course, these issues of insecurity. And we must thank you so much to Liboros Oshoma from our Lagos studio for joining us to provide good insight into all of these discussions. Thank you so much, and we hope to have you next time.
Thank you for having us.
And we'll be going on this short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the PDP and then, of course, the flood in South Africa. Stay with us.
Here's a card we no go give you stress. So 0 weight and 0 Q. First banky petrol card. Here's a card we no go give you wahala. 0 trouble now for you. First banky petrol card. Tell off the spoiler. Who won't break them? Where you want see now only you get them. Nothing fit do one. Sharp payment not the way. Swipe they go, you know the way. Veteran card with the sweet body. Veteran card we know the shape person. We put you first again. First banking veteran card we put you first again. Generate your virtual card we put you first again. First banking virtual card we put you first again. Just generate your virtual card.
Welcome back to the show. You're still watching This Week, and I'm Somna Sambu. Now, PDP presidential aspirant and former president of the Senate, Anyim Pius Anyim, has warned the main opposition party against jettisoning its zoning principle, or else it will become a weakened institution which will not be able to protect its members. The party since 1999 has maintained a zoning formula which is well known to members and is enshrined in its constitution to give a sense of fairness and equity to all members across board. Now, but recent happenings in the party suggest an attempt to jettison the provision. Now, the former secretary to the government of the Federation who is an aspirant for the presidential ticket of the party, is asking the PDP not to risk abandoning this zoning principle because it will have a difficult, it will create a difficult scenario as the party prepares for 2023, and it may likely weaken it. Let's listen to him.
Please, support me. Return me to power. Let me continue from where President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan stopped. Do you know why? We had a systematic plan to refocus the country. We had a systematic plan to return the country on the path of peace and prosperity. There were policies we put in place. There were parameters we tried to put in place. There were policies that actually encouraged foreign investors to come to Nigeria. And today, where are they? If you stand by me, if you partner with me, we will return this country again on the path of peace, again on the path of growth, and again on the path of prosperity.
Well, I am pious, I am there. Now, Kasim Afegboa, who is a stakeholder in the PDP, has been at the forefront of canvassing for the party to follow its zoning formula. He joins us now in the studio to look at this issue. Kasim, this issue keeps coming up over and over. Is this issue of jettisoning zoning going to be given full consideration by the neck of the party when it meets, or you think that there's already a conclusion based on what we are hearing?
Well, thank you very much. I think the issue is beyond the neck of the party. The issue is purely at the doorstep of the constitution of the party, the PDP. In the wisdom of those who were the framers of the PDP constitution, taking into account our plural status, our ethnic multiplicities, and the imbalances of Nigeria, taking into account the quota system, the federal character principle as enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria as amended, decided to insert that Article 7, Subsection 3C into the party constitution that talks about equity, fairness, and justice. The only natural thing to do, instead of rigmaroling and try to postpone the evil day or trying to be clever by half because of the certain greedy ambition of some aspirants, was to just say, since the candidate of the party was from the north in 2019, it should be the turn of the south. It's as simple as ABC. But when people are running away from truth, when they can't speak truth to power, when certain persons have certain influence over chief executives of parties or chairmen of parties or members of the NWC, you see them trying to twist the whole thing, and give a score to those who say that politics is
someone describe it as party executives talking with water inside their mouth.
It's very ridiculous because we can't speak truth out. The constitution is there. Why not abide by your constitution? Why say you want to throw open a process? Why say that? And now you are now shifting the goalposts to the neck. The same neck that gave powers to the committee to go and sit and take a decision. The decision is now that you should throw it open, then they will go back to the neck and say, that is not fair. And because PDP is an organic party, they have to be careful. If they want to remain permanently in opposition, some of us are not tired. We are not tired to be in opposition. We will be there to put government in place in check. But the right things must be done at the right time.
So you're not tired of being in political Siberia?
No, it's not political Siberia. Opposition is an integral part of the democratic process. Opposition puts the government in power on their toes. You were discussing the issue of resignation just now. I had called for the resignation of President Buhari earlier in the month, that given the failures that we are seeing, given the killings, given the insecurity and all of that, it's about time for us to tell the man to please take a bow. We can't continue to begin to belabel all of these issues, cultivating incompetencies, cultivate failures, massage them, dress them in borrowed robes. If the man is not competent, he's not competent. But it is not part of the culture of public officers here. I remember when I was in Edo, when I was appointed chief press secretary. In 4 months, I resigned my appointment when I saw that, no, this is not the kind of thing I wanted.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
now, will you go to court on this issue of zoning, if indeed
that is an option? That is an option, because it's a constitutional provision, it's a PDP constitutional provision. You know, it is good for us to test the veracity of the provisions of our constitution, because they are set of rules. What makes us different from the animal kingdom is because we have set of rules captured in a document called a constitution to guide the operations of a particular party or of a political party or even any institution for that matter. Just like the Nigerian 1999 constitution. If there are infractions, you are going against the constitution, somebody will test the veracity of it. So we will. That is an option we are not going to lose sight of. We want to hear what the NEC will come up with. I personally will take up that issue, and for us to test whether it is right or wrong in the manner they have done, or whether the committee.
Do you have confidence in the ability of the National Executive Committee of the PDP to take a decision that will be acceptable to both the southern people and the northern people, all asking for
the only
fairness?
Decision that will be fair is to allow the South to take the slot in 2023. Why are we belaboring the issue? Why are we begging the issue? No more honesty? Can't we people do things instead of applying subterranean motives, you know, deploying subterfuge, all in the process of just trying to take a piece of meat from the pot of soup so that people will not see you or what? Political greed is the cause of all of this. And I've said, I have narrowed down this whole process, that rather than for the northern aspirants to be saying they must contest, allow, you know, extend the same, you know, reciprocate the gesture we gave you in 2019. We all work for northern aspirants, you know. I worked for Tambuwa, for example. When we lost at the Port Harcourt Convention, they appointed me in the PDP as one of the campaign spokesmen for the Presidential Campaign Council. Atiku was the candidate. We all worked. At this time, people who had opportunity in 2019, I couldn't make any, you know, concentric effort to reroll the voters into endorsing them. Should not come again and say we should give them the opportunity. PDP was not built for an article. It wasn't built for all of these persons. And you want to be perennial aspirant from 1992 up to date? No.
All right. Now, what do you make of the calls for consensus? I mean, we've seen Saraki, Tambuwal, and all of that moving around the country.
There's nothing like consensus.
And then they've also met with Atiku of recent.
Please, there's nothing like consensus. All of these persons you are talking are my friends. At least I relate with them. What is the meaning of consensus in the face of what is happening now? I call that conspiracy of a few persons. Conspiracy in the sense that if it's consensus, it has to be holistic, it has to be robust, it has to be all engaging, it has to be constructively engaging and collectively in terms of bargaining.
And that's why they are going around the country meeting all stakeholders.
You don't identify yourself as four members, you know, members of the same, let me say, members of the same team, 4 of them.
All from the north.
All from the north. Going to meet people who are also aspirants in the same game that you are participating in. What are you going to be discussing with them? If you want to do consensus, PDP has about, altogether now, we have about 16 aspirants thereabout. Yes. You call a meeting of all the 16 and said, you four, please, you Southerners, you can do consensus. That's what. We are not participating again. You gave us your support in 2019. Why do you want to? What they are missing? PDP is stronger in the South than in the North. We have APC 14 states in the North. PDP has 5. So when they keep talking about votes, I'm asking where are those votes going to come from? In 2019, even though Elijah Atiku Abubakar was from the Northeast zone, he fell woefully in the Northeast zone. He was scoring 70,000 in Brownie, was scoring 50,000 in Yobe. How do you tell?
Well, those have always been the opposition stronghold, and then they became ruling party stronghold from 2015.
And yet, somebody who is from the Northeast, if the people of the Northeast couldn't rally around him to deliver votes in the Northeast, where is he going to get the votes in 2023?
Are you afraid that he could actually get his ticket?
Which ticket? He'll be running against. They are running against the run of play. Is the honest truth? If PDP wants to lose election 2023, give it to any northern candidate. Because PDP is not strong in the north.
Well, contrary to what you are saying, some others say if the PDP wants to grab the presidency in 2023, then the best person to take the PDP to power should be from the north. That's what many other party members are saying.
You see, Sumner, the demographics do not support this assertion. I have listened to my good friend Tambuwa giving us some analysis here and there. They don't add up. You see, when you are not able to speak truth to power, you are not able to hit the nail on the head. You keep digging on this issue of demographic. They don't add up. What were the votes of PDP in 2019 from the north? What were the votes in the south? Don't forget, let me even follow their rhythm, and say, okay, yes, give a PDP ticket to this thing. The North will be featured in 2023, right, from PDP. Then they win election. They spend 8 years again. The APC will be in the South, isn't it? Now, when it is the turn of the South to produce a PDP, APC will take their candidates to the North, isn't it? Then the North will win again, another 8 years. Then we, the South, will continue to be perpetual onlookers. Who does that?
All right.
A country as sharply divided as Nigeria, with our disparate interests, with the delicate logic, with all the imbalances, marginalization, politics of exclusion, what you need is balancing of the political algorithms.
Well,
once you're able to do that,
we hope the members of the National Executive Committee of the PDP are listening as they get prepared to take their crucial decision.
While they are taking the decision, they should bear in mind that the law courts are open for us to engage and interrogate the processes.
So that means there's a likelihood of you going to court?
Definitely, to challenge that proviso in the Constitution.
Very
Article 7 is very key.
Very interesting.
It's written there.
Well, we just have to move on to this last story. A devastating flood in South Africa's eastern coastal province has left at least 341 people dead, according to the government, as rescuers continue to hunt for missing people amid forecasts of more rains. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari, while reacting on behalf of Nigeria to the calamity, expressed shock at the large-scale natural disaster which has caused widespread suffering and fatalities. While extending his sympathy to the government and people of South Africa, President Buhari urged other African leaders to work together towards developing common and effective strategies for improving emergency management response. Kasim Afegbua hears President Buhari actually condoling with the people of South Africa, and then trying to see how he can help in this issue of floods that have devastated that country.
Sumner, please stop bringing me to discuss some of these issues. We have our problems in Nigeria, so dominant problems. Flooding is one of them. People are being swept off. We have IDPs everywhere. Quality of life here is very low. You are telling me about South Africa. What is my business?
Yeah, the reality is that South Africa and Nigeria are the two largest economies in sub-Saharan Africa.
They are doing better than us. Go and look at dollar to the South African currency rand.
But I mean, as the two top countries alongside Egypt,
what is the meaning of
being
that?
the third country on the
President
continent.
Buhari should visit places where we have crisis in Nigeria.
Isn't this international politics, massaging the ego of South Africa and commiserating with it?
Forget all of that. That is misplaced foreign policy. Go to Plateau State, 70 people were killed. What has he done? He should visit there. He should go to places where there are crises. Keep telling me, issuing statements and talking about South Africa flooding. We have been flooded here. Who is taking care of our case? Go to Nigeria Delta and see the kind of life we are living. Look at the environmental degradation. What is he talking about that? Please, you see, the president must listen to good advice and not those of sycophants and those who don't mean well for this country.
Isn't it good for our president to commiserate with brotherly nations like South Africa?
They are masters in commiseration. Even in Nigeria here, they have templates for condolence messages and what have you. They have templates. The spokesman of the president, what are they doing? They just sit down, write and plug in the date and change the date and sign signature. They condole. Attack here, condole. Plateau attack, condole. President does not go anywhere.
Well, away from the president's message, actually, this is a very critical issue in South Africa at the moment. Floods and all of that.
It's not just in South Africa. River Benue was flooded at some point, swept a lot of communities. A lot of them are still suffering from that. Kogi State here, the same thing. In Edo State, if it rains, it is heavy flooding, ecological disasters all over the place. I remember when we were in government in that place, we've solved Queen Ede erosion and all of that. There are so many other erosion danger points.
But as the PDP, don't you also play international politics where you actually look at ways of getting across to other countries when they have this
the foreign affairs minister should be talking with all this South Africa and all of that. Not the president of the country. I see that is more important than the kind of crisis we are facing here. The foreign policy, the foreign minister or minister of state foreign affairs should issue statements and condole with South Africa, not the president Muhammadu Buhari, when he has enormous challenges on his hands that are begging for attention.
All right.
And yet we're not getting them.
We just hope that the presidency and all those in the ruling or Progressive Congress are listening.
They are tired bones.
As if they don't take your message as one coming from the opposition. Well, Kasim Afegbua is the chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. I was almost saying All Progressives Congress because you were there at a point in time before you decided to switch back to the PDP. That's Nigerian politics for you. Well, that's how it's been on the show this week. You've been watching this week, and from us here, that's how it's been. We must thank you for watching the show with us, and we hope to have you around next week again when we take a look at issues happening in the politics. Stay with us.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently, because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Knowing who you are starts with knowing where you come from. We are the now and the future. We know that we live in a world that offers us endless possibilities. We'll continue to win to create when, where, and how we want. And if they ask you how we did, tell them we only know one way to do it. We don't wait for permission. We do it now. My name is Ayo Balogun, Wizkid, and I am made in Africa.
Hey guys, making music for you is so easy for me to do. But you know what else is super easy to do? Linking your NIN to your Glow line by dialing *109*NIN hash. Or I can call 109 from my Glow line and follow the instructions. And if I don't want to call, I can text my NIN to 109. I can even visit glowworld.com/NIN. And what if you've forgotten your NIN? All you have to do is dial *346# and Glow will help you remember it. Someone may ask, what if I haven't registered? All you have to do is go into the nearest Glow World and we'll help you register. It's that easy. So don't get disconnected from all of the amazing voice and data offers from Glow. Linking your NIN to your Glow lines is simple, safe, and 100% free with zero hassles.
34 million hectares of arable land. Over 200 million people. One nation. Home to Africa's fertilizer company. Dangote Fertilizer. Pure urea fertilizer. With one single-minded passion to feed Nigeria. Every bag is a potential, an aspiration to turn this green nation into the biggest food basket of Africa. Dangote Fertilizer.